I had so much debt, credit card. I had 4 credit cards. One was entertainment, one was to pay the other one. I can tell you, corporate girls, be real.
Hey beautiful people, and welcome to She Is the Podcast, a podcast all about women, their careers and their cash. I'm the presenter, Kopano.
And I'm Nyaki, the producer.
On this show, you can expect to hear real conversations with real women about how they navigated their finances as they climbed the way to the top of their businesses or in corporate life.
Listen every week wherever you get your podcast or download a fresh episode on www.topsheis.com.
Can you imagine being in financial rehab? That's the conversation that I had today with Tumi Deane Makhu, who is a bridal expert. She's been in the industry for over 13 years. She speaks about how she's a coach for women who are about to get married and even those who are single. One of the things I love the most is how she spoke about getting her properties before getting married. This is a conversation for the ages. So Tumi, you work with brides. It's exciting. It's all, oh my gosh, I'm getting married. What mindset are they in? Like, where are they when they come to you?
I think the biggest thing is that people are excited because everybody else expects you to be excited. But deep-seated, they're also very nervous. So they're looking for somebody that's going to hold their hand, somebody they can trust, somebody that will understand this vision that they have. Because, you know, people dream about getting married since a very young age. They kind of think they know the kind of dress that they want. But at the end of the day, everybody's nervous. Most women are nervous.
And what role do you play? Knowing this, what role do you think you play?
So there's two folds. When you come to the shop, obviously I'm playing the role of a stylist. Mm-hmm. But during the role of a stylist, you end up being a counselor. Because remember, it's very personal. You come into shop for a wedding dress, you're going to undress in front of me. Number one.
You're literally naked.
You are literally naked. There is a lot of insecurity. So I need to make you feel comfortable in front of me. I need to also get to know you. Who are you, Kopano? What do you like? Do you like glitz and glam, or are you a bit of a subtle lady? Because that's going to direct me to be able to get to your vision.
Yeah.
I always say we sell an experience and we sell a dream versus selling the dress. The dress comes with it. Of course, it's the package. It's the end result. But for me to get to, oh my God, this is a yes to the dress. I'm excited. I'm comfortable. I'm loving it. I have to get to know you. And sometimes that takes me unpacking your insecurities. Women come and they're like, you know what? I actually have no boobs. Like, are you going to help me here?
Fix it. Do something.
Do something. Yeah. I have a lot of tears in the shop. A lot. I keep a big box of tissues because we also get people that are like, I've just had a baby. Yeah. I'm not losing the weight. I'm really, really struggling. I really did not think that I would be fitting a flare dress. I've always been a sexy girl. Yes. How do I take you from realizing that, okay, mama, you are in this stage in your life. Let's make it work.
So the expectations of getting married. So I know myself. I was just like, oh gosh, I'm going to go look for a dress. And I saw the price tag. And I was like, whoa, right. Okay, let's readjust what we're working with here. When it comes to the money. I mean, people are very uncomfortable talking about money. And you have to become for you, it's just like the dress is 26,000 rand. What happens with those conversations and the expectations from the brides?
I don't even start a consultation before you tell me about your money.
But it's uncomfortable. How do you start there?
No, I have to. It's part of that. It's part of me getting to know you. And I'm very honest. Are you coming here to buy a Taz? Or have you got a Ferrari budget? Or are you buying a Porsche?
But I want a Ferrari.
No, of course you want a Ferrari. Also, who's paying for the dress? Are you paying for the dress? Is your mom paying for the dress? Is your fiance paying for the dress? Are the in-laws paying for the dress?
I'm already uncomfortable. It's such a, money is such a, and also for a wedding, by the time you look for a dress, you've already started to see that the venue's like this.
that the food is kind of around this ballpark. So by the time you're looking for a dress, you're already thinking to yourself, the venue costs this much, the food costs this much. But I have an image, like you said, I have a dream, I have a vision. Now the first talk is money. How do you make that comfortable? How do you get around it?
Okay, if I always unpack it for women, it's that you also need to prioritize yourself. Are you going to be paying for flowers that cost 100,000 and a dress that costs 5,000 rands? How is that going to make you feel?
Yeah.
Once you make a woman understand that, remember, this day is about you. People will come, they will eat, they will drink, they will not remember the flowers. They're going to remember you.
Yeah.
When you walk down the aisle, they are seeing you. When they're talking throughout the day, they're talking about you. So don't compromise, because we start the process the other way around. People get excited to say, I'm going to find a venue, I want these lavish flowers, I want all of this. By the time they're done with that budgeting, it's so done incorrectly that they're now left with this small amount and they're like, oh shucks, I've got to find a dress. Why do we compromise ourselves as women? Why don't you start saying, firstly, I'm finding my dress. Then my dress will speak to the venue.
It will speak to the flowers.
And then it will speak to the flowers. And then it will trickle down. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we start with all the other things, because if you want a true dream dress and it costs, let's say, 40,000 rands, then you can say, I'm compromising on the number of guests I'm going to have. I don't need to go for a big venue. I can go for a smaller venue, have a smaller guest list. But I'm going to wear my dress because you're putting you first.
See, that's where now, where it gets tough. That conversation of, if you're looking at the venue, looking at the food, you're looking at the flowers, you're thinking about everybody else.
Exactly.
But when you're looking at the dress, you're thinking about yourself. Yeah. So when I was a bride, that was one of my things. I was like, I'm not compromising on the church, and I'm not compromising on my dress. Like everything else we can talk about the numbers of people, we can talk about the flowers, we can talk about everything else.
Yeah.
But why is that conversation so difficult? And how do your brides receive that conversation once you help them realize that the dress is about you? Everything else is about everyone else.
I think we are not taught how to move from being a single girl, a miss, to being a Mrs. We're not taught that process. And the conversations that happen with family are always about, wow, Lobola has come, you're now getting married, girl, let's hit the road, get a venue, get everything. Nobody really sits down and says, Kopano, how do you feel about this process? What would you like to see happening? Nobody does that.
Do you do that for them?
I do that for them. And that's why it's important, if you know that you don't have that support system, seek help. Get a coach, get a consult. Even if it's a simple life coach, you say, I'm going through this process in my life, this transition in my life, and I really want to understand and unpack who I'm going to be. Because there's a lot. I can give you one example. I see women coming to the shop, shopping with their man. And the man saying, I don't like this dress, I want this dress. What does he know about the dress?
And your experience.
And my experience. Yes. Do you understand? And I end up having to say, you know what, sir? It would be a great honor if you could just sit down and I can serve you some tea or some whiskey or some champagne. And you can just relax and enjoy that and let me serve the bride. Because this day is about her. She's not going to tell you how tight your pants should be on the wedding day. So allow her, give her the space. But that goes back to dynamics of relationships and communication. The wedding is such a big event in one's life that touches on so many things. It shows you so many things about yourself. You also have the overwhelming bridesmaids that come with you, that pretend to be your sisters, but they actually can push a bride into a budget that she's not prepared for. And when you leave, you get home, and they're like, what?
All this money.
All this money. Who's going to pay for it? But you fell for the peer pressure. So there's a lot that one has to do. I think one has to do some sort of soul searching before you decide to step. I know people get excited, but if you know, I'm not ready for this process and I haven't spoken about the money and I'm not sure about the money, consult somebody. Could be a friend or somebody that's done it before. You know, say, you know what, I've done this thing. I'm getting married and you've done it. How can I learn from it? What were the mistakes that you've done? And what are the things that you regret? Because there's also the post-wedding remorse and regret. And that's a big one. And people don't realize that. People have nightmares for days.
Afterwards.
Yes.
You know what I regret? Let me tell you now. Right now. Just a little segue. Is there's certain people you invite and you think to yourself, I spent 1,500 Rand per head. That head, I wish I'd never spent that money on that head. And you do have that regret, right? And so, question, big one. Is it worth the money though? Everybody's just like, it's one day. Is it worth it? I mean, I have my own opinion, but I'm here to ask you. Do you think it is worth it?
Yes, I think it's worth it. Definitely. I think, one, for me, because I see marriage as a gift and a gift from God. And something that has been given to you is worth celebrating. And it's worth doing it correctly. That's why I always say to women, follow the right process. Like don't force things, don't push for things in ways where you know you're not ready for them. And you are taking on debt, you are taking on pressure on yourself as a couple and as an individual. A lot of women hide even how much they paid for their shoes or their bag or the dress. And now you're getting into the marriage. Now you've got this credit card where you swiped Valentino shoes that cost you 60 grand. And he doesn't know about them.
You're going to deal with them in your marriage.
Of course you're going to deal with them in the marriage. And they're going to be sitting there looking at you after one day. You know, say it's worth it. But be practical. If you can't buy a dress, hire a dress.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If you can't have a big wedding, scale down on the guests. There's lots of ways of having a beautiful celebration that is not going to cost you any nightmares after.
So it is worth the investment.
It is.
But it isn't worth forcing it. Going beyond your means. And the transparency in the relationship is important. And this is why people say there's the wedding and then there's the marriage.
Of course. And there's the conversations between the two of you that must happen before the wedding. Very important conversations.
And that's what you're trying to get at the beginning.
Absolutely.
How did you, let's go back. How did you get so passionate about this topic specifically? How did you get into this place? I mean, what happened?
Okay, following my corporate life, I left corporate. I started in eventing. I had an events company. I loved organizing events, but it wasn't really my passion. It's something that I'm good at because I'm good at organizing. I'm good at making things pretty, but it's not at the core of me. And I felt that there was something bigger for me that is part of my purpose. And I've always wanted to empower women. I've always wanted to open their eyes. If someone says, I'm going to put a mirror for you to see the true person that you are, I'm that person. You know, I have honest and open conversations with my friends. I can get to the core of it without belittling people.
That's good.
You know, and a lot of women look up to me because they see me. I'm very open with my relationship. I'm very open with who I am. And during the process of getting into the bridal business, because I got into it, because when I went to buy a wedding dress, I was like, okay, I'm buying this wedding dress. I drove all the way to some deep place in Pretoria. And these people don't really care about me. Or they're not just giving me a dress. They're not even advising me or anything. And my nightmare after my wedding is that my shoes were wrong for the type of dress that I wore. So my wedding video does not have the walk that's... You know, you dream about, I'm going to walk
the shoes in the video.
Yeah.
No.
Because the shoes kept on hooking on the dress, so we had to edit it out.
Oh, no.
So the biggest part that you want to see yourself walking down the aisle had to be edited out because it just looked so wrong. I just struggled because it had so much lace and I bought diamante shoes. So if you cared about the bride, you would have said, let me see your shoes. These shoes are going to hook on the lace. Don't wear this type of shoe.
But just ask, have you bought the shoes yet? If you have,
I did take the shoes with me. So that's when I also realized, okay, there's more to this than what the stores are doing. And as I got into the business, I started talking to women. I started seeing the kind of conflict that they have with partners, with moms. And I realized that people are not having the difficult conversations before they come and buy the dress. And I thought, I actually want to be the person that has. Because I would ask, what's your budget? No, we haven't spoken about it. Okay, so it means you don't speak about money.
Yes.
In your relationship, generally. Because if you haven't decided, okay, our wedding budget is 100,000 or it's 20,000, it means you generally don't talk about money, or you're uncomfortable talking about money with your partner. Now, a wedding is an opportunity for you to sit down and say, okay,
let's get real.
Let's get real. Because once you sign, girl,
you're in it.
You're in it. You know, so that was my passion, and I realized that we need to educate women with different things. Simple things like your marital contract. You don't have that conversation with your mom. Out of nowhere to say, oh, I'm getting married. Do you think communal property? They're gonna be like, yes. Because that's what they did. And she also doesn't know the other
options.
She doesn't
volunteer. She doesn't just volunteer and say, oh, my daughter married in communal property. Just thought you should know.
Yes. No, she doesn't. So you don't have that conversation with them. You know, how are you going to deal with the in-laws? How many kids are you going to have? You know, are we Christian? Are we not Christian? How often are we going to church?
Yeah.
People take those things for granted. But in the bigger scheme of things, once you're in the marriage, they can become huge obstacles for growth of your marriage.
So you mentioned that you create an experience for the woman, and it's because of your own experience.
Yes.
That your wedding day, your look, the dress, the diamantes on the shoes created this whole issue for you. So you wanted to help women not have that issue.
Yeah.
So now you went from corporate into eventing, and then the switch into wedding dresses. Why the wedding dresses? Why don't you just stay in just wedding events as an event planner?
I love fashion. Fashion comes to me naturally. You know, there's some things that you don't realize that it's like a gift to you. It comes to you. I can imagine a wedding dress. I can pick top dresses like that. And I would say, I know this dress is going to sell like hotcakes, you know. And it takes a certain eye. Some people can shop at the catalog and they say, okay, show me your top sellers. Even when a brand shows me their top sellers, I can tell them this is not going to sell. This is not what my kind of bride is looking for, you know. So because I have such passion for fashion, it was easy for me to actually learn the industry, and it wasn't easy. I took trips to China, Hong Kong. I lost money. To study the bridal industry is not easy because nobody could tell you, because why? It was white dominated at the start when I started 13 years ago. There were hardly any black owned stores, you know, and who are you going to ask? You're going to make those mistakes. The research lies on you. And also there's also a huge dynamic with the black community is that we don't actually like supporting our own, and that's fact. We're scared to. Now you're going to come with your 20,000 and listen to Tumi. You listen to Tumi if I'm saying I'm working in this shop.
Yes.
But the minute
you find out
that actually Tumi owns a portion of the store, then things start, red flags like, can I trust her? Is she going to be here? Will my dress arrive? You know, so yeah, it was a huge learning experience for me. And I also had to build a personal brand for people to be able to trust
you.
Yeah.
So there's so many things I want to ask about. Firstly, you spoke about how learning the industry took on a big cost.
Yeah.
How did you even manage that?
When I left corporate, I had a provident fund. I cashed it all out. And
that is not what I want to tell people.
Those are some of the realities of what you do, because you don't know. All you know is that I don't want to be in corporate. I want to get out. I need to leave. So you get what you get, and you like, to you think, I'm still young.
That's a huge gamble.
It is a huge gamble. But trust me, if you had to sit on a table of 20 women and say, how many of you have ever cashed your provident?
I know so many women have. It pains me so much. I'm just like, the gamble that you made.
Yes.
How many years were you in corporate when you decided to leave?
Yes. I mean, yes, over 15 years.
So you take that 15 years and you've been accumulating. And the day you left, you knew you were going to go into eventing, right?
No, I just needed a job. Oh, you mean when I left corporate?
Yes.
No. When I left corporate, I was like, I'm done. It was the year I was getting married. I went on honeymoon. I got back and I told my husband, I'm finished because I just did the World Cup.
Yes.
So I worked on the World Cup, which was a huge success, and projects were great, bonuses were great. And after the World Cup, I had a little bit of cash, and I thought the cash bonuses that we got, plus this provident, I could do something. And I remember that year, you remember the Bedouin tents, the stretch tents were like coming up and huge.
Yeah.
So I bought 2 tents, and the next thing I knew, every weekend I was hiring 2 tents. Then I bought 4 tents. Then I had 6 tents.
Wow.
Right now, I've still got a lot of tents.
Wow.
So then I became the tent lady. Then from tents, I grew into, people said, okay, we've got a tent, can you do the whole decor? Then I started doing the decor. Then I started doing big events.
Wow. So leaving corporate, you were just like, I'm done, husband.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And this was after the lace situation, the diamante shoes and the lace situation. And then you take your pension, your provident fund. You then take your bonus and you say, let me do what I can to make the money, and you're good at eventing.
Yes.
You got into tents. You started to make a little bit of profit. You got into events, profit. But now learning the industry and sinking that money, how did you just push through? How did you just... You could see the money leaving. How did you just push through with that?
I think success also favors those that take risks. So I took the risk. And remember tenting, I can't put a tent, I'm a woman. I can't drive a truck, number 2.
I'm not code 10.
Yeah, no.
No code 10.
No.
Can't drive it.
No. And now you have to be controlling 3 or 4 men to work for you. You've taken orders from people. People have paid you. You don't even have structure. All you know is that you were leaving corporate and now you're self-employed. You don't know what the self-employed thing, how it's going to work. Comes Friday, you're setting tents. Monday, you've got a 30,000 in your bank account. So it was just like you're winging it. I promise you wing it until the day you realize, okay, now I have to pay SARS. Now I have to do my books. Now I have to do salaries. People want pay slips. People want this. Then that's when you have to sit back and reinvest into the business and say, am I growing this business? Am I formalizing this business? And how am I formalizing it? Am registering it, websites, building it, advertising, all of that comes with growth. But a lot of people, especially Black people, we don't have mentors from family or coming from unless you come from a background of families where at home they were in business. But I don't. My people are education people. They work in their corporate. But for me, it was like, you're going to learn. My mom was proud of me. My family was proud of me. But they were also nervous. Then COVID happened.
Oh my word.
Then we were stuck with 30 tents. No events, staff, trucks.
Wow. What I'm hearing is challenges, pushing through. And when you talk about these challenges that you are going through, did you still have these savings? Did you still have this money that you put aside? How did you actually get through those difficult times?
One thing I did, which I can say it was just a blessing in disguise. You know, these people that phone you, these brokers, and say there's an investment thing of this. So I took a lot of investment opportunities, like with Discovery or Liberty, and I started saving. And I started saving for my business. So the money that I would make in the business, I would make sure that every month there's a debit order. Not me going to put it in the bank, because that's never going to happen. If you know yourself, you know yourself. Make sure that you have that happening, because that is the money that I know that I don't have a pension fund or provident fund. I have to create my own wealth. I have to create that. I'm also a big investor in property. Good. So one of the things that I did before even getting married is that I bought properties. So I had 3 properties that I owned before meeting my husband. And when I met him, I said, these properties are not becoming part of this marriage. They are my properties.
There's the contract. Here it is.
Yes, these are not part of the accrual. They are separate. Because this is what I've worked for. And this is what I want to keep as my fallback little nest. So I've kept those properties. When people were cashing them out and selling, I've just kept them going. But you have to save the little money that you have from your business, because the business can take away from you without giving you anything. You can look back and say, I worked in this thing and I've got nothing. And I often have this conversation with my sister. She's also in business, you know, and I always say to her, make sure that the business is paying you. When you are done, there must be something that you see. And when they say pay yourself first, it's not a lie.
Because you will forget to pay yourself.
You will forget
and
to pay yourself.
You keep investing in this business over and over again, not knowing if the money's actually coming back to you.
Yeah.
All right, so those properties, I just want to ask about those properties. You were able to get those while you were in corporate.
Yes.
And what made you want to invest in property? What light bulb went off? Why?
I was at Deloitte, and I remember the partner that I reported to, he told me that he just bought property. He bought his first property at the age of like 24 or something. You know, he was an elderly guy. And I remember his name was Guy, actually. And and I went to visit. We did a team building thing at his house, and I was like, oh my God, at the age of 24.
You bought this?
Yes. And mind you, I was driving a convertible. I was a car girl. I was a corporate girl.
It's like, I want
hey, I want my drop top.
You always look good. Everything
was like this. But I was renting. And he said to me, why are you renting? You're working here at Deloitte. You're a manager. You should be affording property. I had no clue. I was like, how am I going to do that? How am I going to even apply? He says, okay, firstly, go look at some properties this weekend. And I remember my first property I bought was a Jackal Creek Golf Estate.
Oh,
and
wow. Yeah.
I remember the advert saying for the young and upwardly mobile. And I was like, well, I'm young and I'm definitely upwardly mobile. So from that, I went back with the brochure and I said, Guy, this is the brochure. This is how much the house costs. This is the deposit. And he's like, but you can pay this deposit as minimum. I said, well, I don't have it. And it was like 5,000 rands. And he said, you don't have 5,000 in your savings
account. You are looking
good.
No. All of these things.
I had so much debt, credit card. I had 4 credit cards. One was entertainment. One was to pay the other one. Like, I can tell you, corporate girls, be real. Because you get in this cycle. The cycle where you think you've got money. You earn 40,000, it comes in. You put a 20 in here, 10 here, and then this one is now available again, and then you're buying with this one. You're recycling the debt. The next thing you know, you're sitting on 60, 80, 100,000 of debt of credit card. So that's where I was.
Did you even know this? Before this property conversation happened?
No.
Did you know what was happening?
I just knew I was living the soft life. I had a car.
You thought you were living the soft life?
Yeah. No, I knew I was living the soft life. I didn't think I needed to have anyone else convincing me. When I had my convertible, and then I sold the convertible, then it was like those small Mercedes A-Class when they came in. A car was the ultimate.
You made it.
You've made it, girl. You've made it. There was no future. And this guy sat me down and said, okay, I'm going to give you the 5,000. This weekend, you're going to go put it down. You're going to put your pay slip in.
Wow.
And if they need any references, I'll give you the references because I want to give you this gift. For
Where
you
is
to
Guy?
I need to find Guy. And that's how and then I paid him back. He said, when you get your bonus, you're going to pay my 5,000 back. And I got it. And that was that. After that, then I started looking. Every weekend, I'd be at a show house. Wow. I became fascinated after that.
How did you fix your finances after this point? So you bought this property. Did you live in it? Did you rent it out?
I lived in it.
How did you go from 4 credit cards to properties?
I lived in the property, the first one that I got. Loved it. Then I met my husband.
Okay.
And he's in finances. So he's in the financial industry. And the first thing he was like, girl, you're always out. You're living it out. Now I'm driving this convertible. My man is driving a Taz.
And he's in the financial industry.
Yes. So I was like, how are you a Taz man? Firstly, my friends were like, what are you doing with a man with a Taz? Nothing. They were like, dude, you have gone and lost it. There are men, there are people that you're working with at Deloitte that want to date you.
You can see this guy is a Taz. Why?
It's the guy with the Taz. And Mr. Taz had liquid cash. And he would never swipe a credit card. He would tell me, I don't have a credit card. His house was paid off.
Wow.
So when he set me down,
The contrast between the two of you. Here
It was
is Miss Convertible,
bad.
here's Miss Property. Every time looking good, Mr. Taz. He has paid off his house. He doesn't look
no.
like what his financial situation was.
So he set me down and said, show me. And he was like, this is shocking. This is how we're going to work through it. You're going to cut down. There's no more hair salon every week, nails and don't, you know. So we worked on a plan. He said, I can help you with this plan, but you've got to commit to the plan. So we slowly, you know.
And at this time, you're still dating. You're not married yet.
No, we're still dating, you know. But he would keep tabs on me and say, I hope you didn't go buy what. I hope you didn't. If he sees me something new, he's like, I hope you were not swiping. I hope you paid cash for it. So it was an education thing. And I had to be educated because when you get your first credit card at a young age and it has 40,000 rands on it, who the hell said don't swipe all the money?
It's mine now.
They don't
It's
tell
mine now.
you.
I
You
can do
think
what I
you
want
want
with it.
40,000. It's yours. You don't see that I have 40,000 debt.
Borrowed, yes.
Borrowed. Every young person thinks, oh wow, I've landed. I can spend 40,000 rands. And that's another cycle that...
So was that accountability the thing that helped you to, you know, go back on
Yeah.
some of the behavior you
Yeah.
had? Because at the end of the day, you loved your salon. You loved swiping.
I had
If
to
it wasn't
cut.
for that accountability, you probably would have just been like, you know what, it's
Yeah.
fine. Let me just go back.
Yeah.
And for how long did you cut back before things started?
For a long time. Maybe 3-4 years.
How did you do it?
Because I was dating him and he's got such good financial habits. I was always with him and we were more friends than lovers. I don't know if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like would have fun. So he became my bestie.
That's good.
So every time we'd go out, he'd say no. Like I would whip up my car and he'd say,
I caught you.
I caught you. Unless you've got the cash for it, we're not going out, you know. So slowly I would start paying things off and you'd say to me, pay your bond more. Don't pay, if it's 3,000, pay 5.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. So you learn, but you need help. It's either you're reading about it or being coached about it or you have a partner or somebody that's going to hold you accountable and that's going to help you in that journey. It's like rehab. It's finance rehab.
Very true.
I can still say I'm still in that finance rehab.
Wow.
Because my money relationship was not the greatest from growing up. My mom was a single parent. So I saw how she managed money. So you take on those things, you know, where when it's Christmas is home.
Yes.
And when there's nobody, there's no money. So it becomes extremes. There's never the balance. And then as a young woman growing up with a single parent, you take on those habits and you don't know how to get into the good.
You don't know what the alternative is.
You don't know what
if
the
no one's
alternative
showing you, then you can't actually try and do anything.
So I would say I'm still in that finance rehab. I'm still a spender. And he's still an investor. So I constantly have to check in with myself. And that's one of the reasons why we have a joint account where the daily expenses happen. And you can see, and I can see. It's not like somebody's managing you, but it gives you that assurance and it gives him the trust to say, I'm learning. I'm no longer going to be swiping everywhere, left, right, and center all day long, you know.
Wow, I really love that you spoke about accountability. You had to unlearn.
Yeah.
And you took those 3-4 years of those habits cutting back. And that's the difficult part for a lot of people. It's now I have to change what I like.
Yeah.
That this is who I am.
Yeah.
I like these things. But you had the reward afterwards.
Yes.
How long was it from your first property to your next one? What was the period of time that it took for you to invest in more property?
I think in the 3rd year of buying my first property.
So that cutting back really helped. It really moved you forward.
And also remember, Papa, those years, the banks were not as demanding financially. In
The interest rates,
the interest rates, the agreements, the deposits that were required for you to qualify. Sometimes I sit back and I'm like, I could be a property mogul for real. If I was really serious about it, I would have 10 properties to me, which is still a dream for me, you know. Because those years when I was like 5,000 deposit, Miana, if you've got a pay slip, approved. You could get property, but who was doing it? We were all buying cars. We were all excited. Even our parents were excited to see, my daughter bought a car.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
You know, when you buy a car, you have to take it home.
Take it home. Yes.
Yes. But when you buy a property, it's not. It's we have the housewarming, but it's not the same. It's a car. Something you can show everyone. You can flash it around.
Exactly. And you become flashy. So for me, that's why I got fascinated with property. And even my husband, we bought our first property together. We're still dating.
Wow.
Because him and I were like, okay, this one is a little bit above my salary and above your salary, so let's buy it together.
We can do it together.
And then we can have a joint thing, and then we'll do a contract, wada, 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 wada. A year later, we're engaged, and we're like, okay, but no, let's sell this thing and do it properly.
Wow.
Yeah. But we made money. People don't understand how you can actually build wealth with property if you do it correctly. I know there's the argument of the renting versus the buying. I'm for buying because I know... I look at white people in Cape Town, in Stellenbosch. You see those old people living. You see that these people are moneyed. They're living.
Yes.
And they're living off. They've moved into smaller places. They've sold their Sandton mansions. Those monies are now what's sustaining them.
Yes.
And they're living their soft life. And then I look at... When I look at our black parents, sometimes it makes me sad to see that they've worked for so many years.
Yes.
And they're still living in that one house that they got when they got married 60 years ago.
Yes. In the same area, which is
in
no
the
longer
same
doing
area,
the same
exactly.
as how it was when they first bought it.
Yeah.
Because we just work towards, let's pay off this house, let's stay in this house.
Yes.
And then once we have
There's
this
no
one,
appreciation.
Yes. Because especially the areas that we're in. So now, I've got so many questions to ask you, and I'm trying to think of where do we go from here? The property discussion is one that is really, really interesting. And the fact that you ended up buying so many of them, more than one, more than two, and then also having your accountability in the form of your husband.
Yeah.
You said you feel like you're still in financial rehab. Why would you say that?
Because I think it's like an alcoholic. You don't fully recover.
I get you.
Do you know what I mean? And then, even when you're an alcoholic, you need to admit, to say, I'm an alcoholic, for you to be able to heal. But you don't fully recover. You can fall back. So that's why, for me, I take the financial thing very seriously. I'm like, I'm still in rehab. I'm still learning. I don't know if I had to land a 50 million deal without my husband or any other guidance. What would happen? Would I still get excited? Because it's in your nature. So I think it's a continuous process of learning and unlearning and having open conversations with people. A few years ago, we bought a property in Cape Town that we invested in, and people say, but you're always out, you look like you're on holiday all the time, you know what I mean? But I'm like,
I've asked you that question.
Yes. But we pay for it every month. We save for it. I don't go out in Joburg. You'll never see me at like a branded restaurant or anything, ever. I mean, you can look at my page. I hardly spend money here because I've made the decision. I want to be in the beach. I want to be in the ocean. I want to be in that kind of lifestyle. But there's no beach life here. So instead of spending lunches and whining and dining in Joburg for 5,000 a month, I'd rather put that money towards a bond of a place that I can go to anytime, buy a ticket, and
it's there.
It's there. It's mine. And if I decide to rent it out to tenants, I can.
So when a person looks at you, you're always looking good. Your makeup's done. This is you every day. This is not Tumi here for the podcast. This is Tumi. This is me. When I see you, this is how I see you. Your hair's always looking good. You're always looking good. You're dressed. Your accessories. So when a person looks at you, they think, this one's living a soft life 24/7.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me that I know how to regulate myself.
Yeah.
Here in Joburg, this is how I spend.
Yes.
In Cape Town, this is how I spend. So that's where you're saying now, that's the financial rehab you're talking about.
Yes.
Constantly conscious of how you're spending your money.
And asking yourself, if I'm 45 now, it's 5 years to 50. Then there's another 10 years to 60.
Yeah.
Which is retirement.
How's that going to look?
How is that going to look? Because, this year I think the age thing is hitting me because it's like, okay, you're close to those days where you're not going to be working your 9 to 5.
Can't be hustling like
You
this.
can't be hustling like this. So do you actually have a plan? If you're not in corporate and you're going to get a fat
pension.
pension, how's your RA looking? What are your savings looking like? And the easiest, once you pass 40, is the property. Because you can invest in something and you can get $1 million out of it. Your RA is going to grow at a much slower rate than your property will grow.
True. Very true.
You see, that's why I'm saying.
So that's your retirement plan.
That's my retirement plan. That's my property. Because I'm not going to be selling wedding gowns when I'm 50.
When you're 50
or
years old.
60.
So are you saying yes to the dress at 61?
No. Maybe I might visit. Maybe I might franchise the brand. You know, that's part of the discussion of a legacy. But it's not going to be a hassle. And one needs to look at your life that it's, dude, it's either you're going to live well now or save. And I'm not saying people must starve. You must still live well now.
You're showing me right now is that you're living the life you want to live.
Yes.
You are happy.
Yes.
You are still are still spending on the things you want, but you're also saving. You're investing. You've got a retirement plan, which is something that's difficult for entrepreneurs. Is that retirement plan? But you have this life experience that you're talking to me about now. What happened with you and your husband? How you got into the bridal industry, and now as a coach, you can see that all of that speaks to how you currently deal with your brides today.
Yes.
And I think that's the bow on top of everything.
Yeah.
Is that why I've got into this business was because of my experience. That's why I create an experience for everyone else.
Yeah.
How I coach people is because of the experiences I've had.
Yes.
Single, married, the transition, the money that we go through. That's why you have the money conversation with everybody on top. So as tying this conversation together, thinking about the journey that you've been on that has brought you to this place, what would you say to those women who are making that transition? Talking about money, talking about the experience, talking about what they're about to get into. What would be your final word that you'd want them to take from your story today?
Be honest with yourself. You know when they say you're doing a due diligence, do one on yourself.
Yeah.
Where am I now and where do I want to go? And if you're in a relationship, ladies, be honest in your relationship. If you've got properties before, or maybe you've got a trust from your parents, be honest to say, I have a trust, I have a stash. I don't want to maybe disclose the amount to you as yet, but I've got that, and I don't want it to be part of the marriage, or I want to take this thing and put it in a marriage. What are we going to do about it? Have the hard conversations. You know how many women come to me and they're like, hey, I'm not even sure how much this guy makes. Because we don't know how much our partners. We don't ask. We're happy with the soft life. We're happy with the perceived life. And social media is a danger zone, guys. Social media is the worst. I don't know whether it was a good thing for us or a bad thing, but with social media, it's created this perception that everybody is living
the soft life.
The soft life.
Their best life.
Their best life. They're living it on what?
Yeah.
If you've seen people with branded clothes, have they bought it on cash or is this all debt?
Yeah. So being honest in your relationship.
Being honest in your relationship, being honest with yourself, being able to take risks, but also learning. Make the time to educate yourself. Ask people that have done it before. If you can't afford a coach, ask somebody. I always say there's somebody that's done it before. Out there, there's definitely somebody that's done it, and ask them to say, how did you do this? How did you transact from this place to that place? Can I follow your roadmap? Because we are also lazy.
Yeah.
I find that we are also very lazy. We say we want things, but we're lazy to put in the work to get the results that we want.
Yeah.
You know. So life is all about growth. We grow every day. Continue reading, continue growing.
Yeah.
Each and every day, and invest in yourself, because that's all you have. If my husband dies, I know that I can sustain the life that I have.
Because you've learned and
I've learned. Yeah. And I continue to learn.
Thank you so much. I love this conversation. I wish we could talk for 3 hours, but you've given us so many pearls of wisdom.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tumi, for talking to us, and I hope that you will continue to do this amazing work. And I'm grateful for all the brides and the single ladies,
Yes.
and those who are transitioning, who are going to be talking to you and continue to work with you in your life. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.